Hey everyone, Mike here. In today's video I'm going to cover 4 methods that you can employ to learn a scale across the entire fretboard, starting from the basic minor pentatonic position and expanding eventually towards the end to incorporating more advanced stuff like modes. For the purposes of this video we'll be using the A minor scale and we'll be using a backing track in that key to demonstrate the techniques I'm going to show you throughout. So the most basic introduction that many guitarists get to scales is the minor pentatonic scale. And there's a very good reason we start with this scale. It is simple to learn, easy to memorize, and it sounds good over almost anything basically. The only downside to the minor pentatonic scale is that its simplicity can hold you back when you want to expand your playing beyond just that basic shape. It's a very common thing for guitarists to get stuck in what is known as the pentatonic box. It is something that I definitely related to for many years until I developed some systems to overcome it. So the way to do this at the most basic level, we can start by taking our main A minor pentatonic shape, which starts at the 5th fret on the E string, and if we just add 2 notes in 4 different positions, we suddenly have the A minor scale, which is also known as the A Aeolian mode, but we'll get to that later. And the key notes to pay attention to here, which give this scale its distinctive flavour, are the F and the B, which are the notes in purple on this scale diagram. So by just incorporating these notes into the overall minor pentatonic scale, you can really start to get a bit more expressive with your playing. But what if we want to take this a bit further and actually play completely outside of this overall sort of like position? The easiest way to start doing this is by taking the alternative positions of A minor on the fretboard and just playing around those areas. So for instance, if you get to hit the chord shape of A minor, like open A minor, and you take that shape up an octave around the 12th fret, you've got those 2 positions now where you can start playing and still be in key. But we can go deeper than this still by taking other chords. So like for instance in this backing track we've got the chords of E minor and D minor. All the notes of those chords are in the key of A minor. And not only that, but the corresponding minor pentatonic shapes for these 2 chords are also found in the A minor scale. But now if we take the actual notes of all these chords, all 3 of these chords, and add them to the fretboard, you will find that this is starting to look like our scale. We're basically 90% of the way there. I'm just going to quickly show you a trick that you can use to find these shapes in other keys as well, really quickly, specifically minor keys I should say. So if we take the root note of A minor on the E string, got the 5th fret, which is the A, we'll go up 1 string and hit the 5th fret, that's our D, and if we go down 2 frets from there on the same string, we've got the 7th fret, which is our E. And they just so happen to correspond with our alternative minor pentatonic positions in this key. So you could use this trick in any minor key to figure out where the alternative pentatonic positions should be. For instance, if we were in B minor, we just go from the B on the E string, which is the 7th fret, go up 1 string to the A, and on the 7th fret, you are on the E. If you go down 2 frets from there, you're on the F sharp. And lo and behold, those 2 pentatonic positions, the F sharp minor pentatonic and the E minor pentatonic, are both found in the key of A minor. Okay, so now that we've mapped out the fretboard, utilising the notes of the chords and the minor pentatonic positions that are in this key, we can start talking about modes. I'm not going to get too into the weeds of how modes work and what they are exactly because, to be honest, I'm not too well versed in theory myself. I'm just mainly focused on the actual patterns and how you can quickly memorise them and learn them across the entire fretboard. So if we go back to the minor pentatonic positions that we had from earlier, we've got the E minor pentatonic. If we now add the notes in colour, which basically are all the notes of our chords. We are now looking also at a mode, and this mode in particular is called the E Phrygian mode. And now if we switch it up and go over to our D minor pentatonic from earlier, and we have the following notes, we're now looking at the D Dorian. And again, D Dorian is a mode that's found within A minor. The mode of C major is also in the key of A minor, so is G Mixolydian and B Locrian and others. You can go as far with that as you like. I'm just showing you some basic ways to get started with it. Learning modes is one of the best ways to master scales across the entire fretboard, because when you're learning one, you're actually learning several. For instance, if you learn all the modes that are in the key of A minor, you're also learning the overall key of, say, C major, because all the notes in C major are identical to all the notes in A minor. So you're basically learning multiple scales when you do it this way. There is just one caveat to everything I'm talking about here, and that is that learning these positions will automatically mean that you can comfortably play. It will just be a case of trial and error and playing and practicing and just starting to figure out what works where and what doesn't. And probably the best way to do that is to use backing tracks like the one that I used in this video. With that in mind, this one is actually available to practice over. I will leave a link in the description. I'll also leave a link up here somewhere, and feel free to go and try these techniques now if you want. And speaking of which, in general, this channel releases backing tracks on a weekly basis. These on-camera lessons like this are a new addition. This is the first time I've done this. If you did find this useful, please let me know. And if you do want to support the channel, consider joining me on Patreon. That is all for this one. See you later.